Hello, family members. I hope you're having a nice day today. I want to tell you the story of Shannon Spalding. She was uh, an undercover officer for the FBI in Chicago, and she did an investigation into a cop who was turned out to be sort of a drug kingpin, almost like a real life version of The Shield or something. And after her involvement in the investigation became, public knowledge, like her life was threatened, her daughter's life was threatened, according to her. I mean, like, there was all sorts of wild things. Like, she said they literally told her, someone in the department told her, you need to be wearing your bulletproof vest to protect herself from other police, from other law enforcement agents. Like, that is how hostile the reaction was to her investigating and getting a person convicted, multiple people convicted of this horrible corruption. Like, she did a good thing and they forced her out of her career for it. Like, if I hadn't read it from multiple news sources, I would have a hard time believing this wasn't the plot of a movie, okay? It's absurd. I mean, she literally says that she lost everything: her house, her marriage, her career, her peace of mind, her safety, Like, oh my gosh. For doing the right thing. For investigating a crime when her job is investigating crimes. Okay, wow. I mean, it's, of course we know the system is so corrupt that it's not just law enforcement agents that get caught up in this. It's the blue wall code of silence thing, right? I mean, Shannon Spalding's case was so ridiculous that a bunch of series of events happened that led to Rahm Emanuel, one of Obama's buddies, who was the mayor of Chicago, having to admit that the blue wall of silence thing is a real thing. And she's just like, yeah, okay, but that doesn't change anything. Sure, he admitted it, but nobody's going to do anything about this. And she's right. Like 5 years ago, a New Orleans police, what was he, sergeant, I believe, like literally kidnapped a guy who was just like a chemist in a crime lab, who was reporting things that he saw that were, inappropriate. Like, he was seeing, bad test results and things like that. And he was whistleblowing on that. The police sergeant literally kidnapped him. They detained him without a warrant. He went with two of his subordinates and, like, kidnapped the guy, basically, because he dared to be like, hey, I see some things happening that are wrong, and we need to correct this and find justice. When he was working in a crime lab trying to call out crimes and find crimes and provide justice and provide, appropriate, accurate evidence. Like, and we know it's not a new problem. I mean, the chemist guy, Carl Vandehar, he got some measure of justice. Like 4.5 years later, they fired the sergeant. No charges, just fired. He has not been charged. I can't even. He kidnapped a guy in retaliation. Wow. Anyway, but like 50 years ago, the same thing basically happened to Frank Serpico, who you may have heard of because they made a Al Pacino movie about him. Like he was an NYPD guy, called out corruption. Nobody within the department would listen to him, so we went to the media, and then he gets shot under very suspicious circumstances. I mean, I wanted to tell you these 3 stories because they demonstrate something that I think is essential to understand before we begin our conversation today. And that, my family members, is this is a systemic issue. It happens everywhere. It happens at every level. It affects everything that the system touches, not just directly law enforcement, but all sorts of support staff for law enforcement. This is also going to apply to people who work in the prison system, people who work as prosecutors, all people who are involved in the American justice system are touched by this effect. And it is the truism that one bad apple spoils the whole bunch. We always talk about cops in terms of bad apples, right? Oh, it's just a few bad apples. Most cops are good. And I do want to say, I believe that there are people out there that work in this big amorphous system, including law enforcement agents, that truly intend to be a force for good, intend to protect and serve. That may very well be their intention. They may very well do that most of their career. But it is impossible to do the right thing in all circumstances as a law enforcement agent or as any part of the system. Without having to look the other way in order to be able to keep your career. It's just not possible. We have evidence. I could name dozens more cases. I read a whole bunch more. It was very upsetting, I have to admit, because a lot of the times what ends up happening is the whistleblowers end up getting charged for something or getting harmed in some way or lose their jobs, get fired. I read about another guy who got fired because he dared to call out stuff, and they held it up. What was his name? It's like Austin something. Oh gosh, I feel bad that I forgot. But there's so many. That's the problem. There's so many cases of this. The evidence is overwhelming that if someone steps up and he says, here is an example of corruption, it ruins their career, not necessarily the career of the person who was actually corrupt. Or maybe some people that were corrupt get caught up enough that they become the scapegoats. But the deeper corruption issue never can be addressed. The only person who fully bears the consequences are the people who try to stand up and do the right thing. They are not able to continue in the job. You cannot call out corruption and keep your career. And that's why those few bad apples spoil the whole bunch. There's enough bad apples. We know of enough police misconduct. We know of enough, sexual abuse by law enforcement. I mean, if you go back and you read just publicly available police reports, there are dozens and dozens of cases of law enforcement agents who were convicted for sex crimes or domestic abuse or any sort of violent crime, coercive crime. There's a lot of corruption, but we don't see convictions for corruption, and we do see retaliations for calling out corruption. We know it exists. We're never seeing it punished. And anytime someone calls it out, their career ends. That means the system absolutely is corrupt to its core. And that's why the defund the police thing, I never liked it, because we have to abolish the police. We can't. The police, the system that the police exist within is so foundationally corrupt that it is beyond reform. We have attempted reform for over 50 years and have never succeeded. It keeps happening over and over and over again. The system is beyond being fixed. And that's why the only option we have is to stop having this system. We're going to have to start over. The thing is, communities can learn how to support each other in ways that aren't related to the police. People want to bring up violent crimes. You know what? There can be people whose job it is specifically to respond to violent crimes. And there can be people whose job it is to specifically respond to mental health crises. And every other, common type of thing that is handled by law enforcement that is valuable to the community could easily be assigned to people to do who have better training for it and specifically do that one thing so they are able to become experts. Instead of having one system try to handle so much that it can't handle anything effectively, we could just try something different. We can try actually having people who are there to do the specific tasks and know how to do them. When you hear about sex crimes issues, like the real stats on the real SVU, right? Well, they say that very few of those crimes, if they're even reported, get prosecuted. That really honestly means that they're not doing their job. If so few people who have had heinous crimes committed against them actually get any sort of justice, well, that it's not a good system. It's not working. It's not doing what it's supposed to do. When I was a kid, we had a couple of different times people broke into our house while we were on vacation and stole all my dad's guns. Guns. Now, my dad's a hunter, and so a lot of those guns were guns he used for hunting. And some of them, though, were like antique guns that his dad had given him because his dad was a bit of a gun collector, and they were old and valuable, or very sentimental to him. And as far as I know, basically no investigation was done. There was evidence, but I don't believe any of it was ever collected, really. And you would think that law enforcement would at least be, I mean, if they didn't care about the fact that our stuff was taken, because it wasn't Daddy's guns, of course. They took anything they thought they could that was valuable. Luckily, I was such a slob. They did not go into my room. Slobbery winning. Anyway, you would think even just for like public safety reasons, they would want to go find those stolen guns and get them off of the street. Black market weapons. And as far as I know, none of them were ever recovered. Like, what do the police actually do? Give out speeding tickets? Does that keep people from speeding? Seems like people speed a lot to me. I live in Florida. I know. Family members, these dogs are running me wild. I'm going to have to leave it at that. But I will say that we should abolish. It's time. It's time to do something because the system is not going to get better. It's just not. This will not happen. Ever, ever, ever. And so if something is broken beyond repair, you don't keep trying to fix it. I love you, family members. I hope you have a great day.